Mohammed Ghalayini, who's also here today, were both in Gaza during the beginning of the bombing. Mohammed Ghalayini, a Gaza scientist based in Manchester, stayed in Gaza when he could have evacuated and reported out from Gaza for the next 2 months. His voice reached many mainstream media outlets who interviewed him while he was surrounded by the bombing. He was regularly having to uproot and move locations with other family members as more Israeli attacks closed in. I'll pass on the mic now to Mohammed.
Thank you, Hala. Thank you, Danlul, for sharing earlier. I just think it's unbelievably brave, given what you've gone through. I understand that it helps to share and keep the memory of your mother and family alive, but I think also Allah sabr. Thank you, Mala, for your quite encompassing talk. It's really good to kind of see the big picture, but also look with hope to the future, because we always need hope. I'm just going to share a quick anecdote before I start, because last night Lul told me to go on Twitter, which is a platform that I don't use that much, and he said, you'll make new connections, one of the first things I saw was a Palestinian man in America. He's actually a Palestinian Zionist, yeah, they exist, and he was talking about how UNRWA, while he supports UNRWA, he was also thought it was important to rid its rank and file from Hamas. And then there was an Israeli guy who commented on his post saying, yeah, no, I agree, UNRWA needs to go. So I responded to this guy and said, the Israeli guy had in his bio, he said he was a proud Zionist, and just kind of going back to kind of that ideology that Hala mentioned, and it's important to remember. So I said to him, yeah, I agree too. UNRWA has to go. We'll rid the world of Israeli apartheid, and then UNRWA will be redundant. We disagreed in the end. He said, it dawned on me that I'm now a genocide survivor, and with that comes the responsibility to advocate for my people in Gaza and relay their stories of resilience. So I'm going to dedicate the next part of my talk to sharing with you some testimonies that I gathered while I was in Gaza. I'm duty-bound to ask, these people have really exhibited so much strength and resilience, but I am duty-bound to ask, surely it's time for a full ceasefire, surely it's enough, and they need peace, and why do they have to continue exhibiting this resilience and strength? So, the first story I'd like to share with you is the story of Zakaria and his family. Zakaria is a fisherman. He is the head of the Palestinian Fisher Syndicate. I met him 3 days before the attacks. He invited us all to a wonderful dinner of seafood at the Gaza port that's now been destroyed, along with all the equipment of people who fish in Gaza. So Zakaria says, the scariest and most painful thing is that these missiles are fired at houses crowded with people. The bodies in Al-Shaltit camp are still under the rubble. We could smell the bodies. The Israeli intelligence officer called one of my cousins who was sitting with us and said, Buckers, why have you not left? Your neighbors have evacuated. You have 30 minutes to leave for your safety. If you don't go, we will drop death on you. I said to myself, okay, half an hour, what do I do? Zakaria continues, he talks of their journey that they took from their home to Khan Yunis. He says, there were bodies everywhere. Some decomposed, some were charred. We saw a car with a person inside it dead. His bottom half was intact. His upper half was decomposed. Horrific scenes, enough to make a stone cry. We left the area where the tanks were and moved to cross Wadi Gaza, the Gaza River. And they said to us over loudspeakers, now you are in a safe zone. My grandson was crying. He was hungry. There was a small wall, and we let his mother use it to hide so that she could breastfeed him, and to stop him crying just for a few minutes, about 5 minutes. In general, we felt easier and a little bit calmer after my grandson was fed. We continued walking in an enormous stream of humans in a column. I guess parents, people who've taken care of children amongst you will empathise with the calm that comes when or the tension that comes from children crying. Just imagine that then compounded with the suffering that you're going through, having to walk 15 kilometers to get to safety. The second story I'd like to share is the story of Layla. She's a friend of ours from Jabalia refugee camp. She's a great community activist and someone who makes the best maftoul. It's like a Palestinian couscous. Really good stuff. Hopefully we'll share it one day. So Layla is still in Jabalia, and this is her story. She says, "The bombing at my house started as my son Ahmed was leaving the house. He was about 10 meters out when he was bombed. The bomb made my son fly off maybe 50 meters. His left leg was amputated and his left finger too, and he got about 15 stitches in his head. When we came back to our place, the boy was bleeding with no wheelchair, no wound care and no medication. Everything you see on TV is 10 times worse than what is actually happening.